Hello everyone and welcome to the Lausitzring. It is time for race 2. And after so much drama yesterday with 2 red flags, so much action due to the heavy rain, today it's still dry, but obviously everybody's looking up into the sky every now and then to see what is weather doing. Is it going to be another gamble? I think it will be. And with me is Thomas Preining, the reigning champion, and you're starting in pole position, so that's the perfect position. Yesterday you were third, so hopefully today you can improve that.
Yeah, I hope so. Definitely we dealt ourselves the best cards in qualifying this morning. Good starting position, of course, on the inside for turn 1. I felt like this is quite important. Yesterday it was quite hard to stick around the outside, but all in all I'm happy with where we are, and now we need to execute a good race again.
And one question, on your car there's a little animal, it's a koala. What's the story with the koala?
Well, we have an Australian partner with the team, EMA, since last year already, so we try to be inclusive and have some Australian mascots.
All right, so hopefully also the Australian mascots will give you power to hopefully turn the pole position into a win.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Thomas. And now here are the commentators.
Thanks very much indeed, Verena. Yeah, good to see Thomas Preining after his first podium of the season yesterday. But as a result of that, he will have some success ballast on the car for the race. 5 kilograms for finishing in third place. Maro Engel will have, and he's low down the grid as well, Maro. He'll have 10 kilograms for finishing second yesterday. And Kelvin van der Linde starts fourth. The championship leader. We went from 9th to 1st in the championship after winning yesterday. And he'll have 20 kilograms of success ballast on board. Maro Engel's got the same points as him, but because Kelvin's got 1 race win and Maro hasn't had a win yet this season, therefore Kelvin is the championship leader. But early days, basically what's happened so far this season is somebody's won a race, and when you win a race you go to the top of the championship table. It was Jack Aitken in race 1, it was Luca Engstler, this driver, in race 2, and yesterday Kelvin van der Linde did exactly the same thing, won a race and went to the top of the championship table. But Luca Engstler in fine form this morning, a difficult race yesterday with the conditions that we had, but the youngster has qualified 6th on the grid in his Lamborghini. And we go down to the grid now and hear more from Verena.
So now the man who's starting in P2 today is Ricardo Feller, always looking very cool and calm and a smile in your face. So how difficult do you think will this race be, and how is your connection to the weather god? What do you think?
Yeah, very difficult to say right now. Yesterday the radar was not saying clearly that it rains, and there was a lot. So, but now I think the sky looks much better. So I think if there is a rain, it will come later. But yeah, let's see. Maybe we get surprised again.
Hopefully not. It was a bit very dramatic yesterday. You ended up in P5 yesterday in the race. Today, starting from P2, will you be able to improve that? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously will be very difficult, but we will try. Let's see. On the right side here, the grip is better, so let's see what we can do at the start.
All right, Ricardo, best of luck. Thank you so much. And now we're going to go over there to P3, and that is Mirko Bortolotti. So let's see how his spirits are. He's got a smile on his face. That's always a good part. Let's see if I arrive, if he's still smiling. Can we see a smile?
Yeah, I saw you coming from over there, so that's why I was smiling. I said, Verena is coming, so.
All right, so starting from P3, I mean, talking about the weather, we don't know. I mean, Lausitzring obviously is a gamble. So what does your gut feeling say about this race?
I think we have a good starting position, but Lausitzring is a really tricky start, tricky first corner track. So I don't really know. We have cars around us that are really fast and faster than us, and will be a tough race. But yeah, we've seen last year that we managed to win a race with a lot slower car. Ideally, we have to wait for an opportunity, and if there is an opportunity, I will try to take it. But I think on pure pace will be tough.
Well, hoping for that opportunity. Thank you so much. Best of luck for the race. And now we're going to go over to P6 because we've got Luca Engstler, who actually arrived here at the Lausitzring as a leader of the championship. But as we know in DTM, you know, it's tough. And now he's here in P6. Hello, Luca. So I was just saying, good. How are you doing?
Yeah. I can tell you in an hour.
I was just going to say, are you having little doubts about the weather, or do you think it's going to stay dry?
I think it's going to stay dry, but yesterday I said the same, and within 3 laps I was in the gravel, so I say nothing anymore, yeah.
But all in all, I mean, Lausitzring, oh, it's sticky. Lausitzring is a pretty tough one, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenging track, a lot of bumps, always hot. I think I've never been here when it's cold, so always hot, very demanding, and yeah, will be a long hour for sure.
And speaking of demanding, I mean, yesterday it was so wet. The weather was just, I mean, the rain, we all saw it on TV. What was it like for you guys? And I mean, obviously now are you praying for dry track?
Well, yesterday I was hoping for a mess, starting quite far back. But then obviously we took the gamble, stayed out when everybody boxed, but then the rain came so hard that it was difficult to even keep the car on track. So we were last after the red flag. Then I think we fight it quite well back to get at least a few points. But normally if you start in front of the pack, you want everything to be like very quiet and a very boring race. If you're in the back, you hope for the biggest mess possible. So yeah, it's wherever you start, right?
Absolutely, and I hope you keep that smile when we see you after the race. Best of luck.
Me too, thank you very much.
Thank you. And now we're going to see, we're going to go to P8 because we've got Maximilian Paul, who is the local matador. There he is. And yeah, obviously he's probably got a fan base here because it is his home race. So let's find out. Maximilian, smile in your face. I mean, since you're the local matador, do you have a lot of support here at the Lausitzring?
Yeah, a lot of support. Friends, family, sponsors, everyone.
So is it good? Is it going to give you wings, or is it also a bit of pressure because you want to perform really well coming from P8?
I think it gives me more wings than pressure. I really enjoy it. Obviously, nobody can put more pressure on me than myself. So I'm really looking forward to the race. We have a good position. And yeah, obviously trying our best.
Obviously, and now a little insider information. I mean, the wind is picking up a little bit. What are you guys betting on, rain or dry?
I don't care, honestly. We are betting on nothing. We will see what happens and try to react as good as possible, and obviously better than the others.
Absolutely, crossing our fingers for that. And also now last question regarding the Lausitzring as your home race. Is it the best racetrack in the world?
It's a very good one.
Very diplomatic. But you're going to enjoy this race, right?
Obviously, I enjoy every race. I enjoy that I'm able to do this, what I'm doing.
Right, so spread your wings and go for that race.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maximilian. Best of luck for the race. And now, obviously, we're going to see what happens up there. We're going to keep our eyes on the sky every now and then. It's definitely going to be a very exciting race that I'm sure of. So do enjoy it. Fasten your seatbelts. And now here are your commentators.
Thanks, Verena. Verena right down on the grid. Excellent job there, catching up with lots of the drivers ahead of the start of another 60-minute plus one-lap race. There's somebody with a lot of work to do. He was towards the back of the field anyway, but he's also picked up a penalty. So he was only 18th anyway, but he's going to be stone last on the grid. Maro Engor has been brilliant in the races. He's got as many points as the championship leader, Kelvin van der Linde, who's had 2 second-place finishes out of 3 races so far this season. But only 2 drivers this year have qualified worse than him on average, so he's had to do it the hard way. And yesterday he was 13th on the grid, but actually he was last but 1 by the end of the first lap and still managed to get a podium. So a lot of work to do for Maro, plus he's got that success ballast on board, as I mentioned as well, from his podium finish yesterday. So it's going to be tough for him. Going back to the weather, my weather radar, for what it says, it's not my weather radar, it's the one I use. I haven't got one built in. This tells me that it is not going to rain, probably. He said, hedging his bets. I've looked at the weather radar up until 2:30 at least, which should cover us. There's 1 or 2 patches of rain in and around here, but there's certainly not a big deluge forecast like we had yesterday. So I think it's more likely it's going to be dry than the rain that we had. There are 50% chance of storms in the area, but that's somewhere between now and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I think we might just get away with it today. Anjan Guven wouldn't mind a bit of rain because he's been flying in wet conditions, the Turkish driver. But he's qualified well again in the top 5. Let's see if he can have a better day than yesterday. He fell back down the order and actually ended the race on 3 tyres, having had some contact with a charging Mirko Bortolotti, who went for the slick tyres late on and charged from 18th up to 11th place. There is Mirko. But that contact forced the tyre off the rim in the end, and Anjan Guven just about crossed the line and just about got 1 championship point. Mirko Bortolotti has been the best qualifier on average so far this season, but he's only had 1 podium finish. He was a race winner here last year, and he's in a good position starting on the inside of row 2 behind Ricardo Feller and this man, Thomas Preining, who'll lead us away, getting ready for the start of round 4 of DTM. Welcome then to the Lausitzring to the east of Germany. We're about 50 kilometres north of the wonderful historic city of Dresden. And there's an industrial landscape here because this circuit was built on the side of a huge former open cast mine. It's a vast complex. It was opened in the year 2000. It is a tri-oval circuit used initially for IndyCar racing. Huge grandstands everywhere, and we use the infield section as well. So part of the tri-oval and then an infield section which comprises lots of slower second and third gear corners where traction is key. You have lots of bumps around here as well. It's an anti-clockwise circuit, and it's given us some great racing over the years, including the closest finish in the history of the DTM. René Rast, like Lucas Auer, a three-time race winner around here, but this one was tight. Nico Muller charged after him over the line, and 89 thousandths of a second was all that separated the pair as Audi took a 1-2 finish here. René Rast yesterday, though, with a very different day, finished as a DNF. He didn't get in and out of the race, but when he came in to change tyres on his BMW, he was a BMW driver these days, the car wouldn't fire back up. Did some exploratory laps later on, but a first non-finish of the year for René Rast. And he's got work to do from the middle of the grid as well. So dry for now. Forecast is debatable, but it looks less likely that we're going to get the rain that we got yesterday. The fans won't mind that because they got soggy yesterday and all had to move under the huge roof of this grandstand, which we're in the commentary box overlooking the start-finish line, just to try and stay dry. So here we go. Round 4 of the championship. We've had 3 qualifying sessions, 3 different race winners. And now we've got Thomas Preining and Riccardo Feller about to go into battle. Second row of the grid, Mirko Bortolotti and Kelvin van der Linde. Yesterday's winner, Engin Nguyen and Luca Engstler on row 3. Nicky Tim, who got his first points yesterday. Likewise for Max Powell. To complete the top 10, Marco Wittmann and Lucas Stoltz. Marco with his best qualifying of the year so far. Lucas Auer and Christian Engelhardt up next. Then it's René Rast and Arjun Maini. Arjun, worst qualifying of the year so far. The 2 Ferraris of Vermeulen and Aitken are on the penultimate row of the grid, or 3 rows back rather. And then right at the back of the grid, as I say, Maro Engel with ending up with a 2-place grid penalty as well. So he'll be one to watch in the Mercedes. It's going to be a rolling start, 60 minutes plus 1 lap of racing, a mandatory pit stop for tyre changes in the middle third of the race between 20 and 40 minutes. And it could be another classic here at the Lausitzring. We've got the best seat in the house. My name's Chris Hartley. I'm up here in the commentary box looking right down on the start-finish line, and alongside me as always, it's a good afternoon to Brian Oliver.
Good afternoon, Chris. How are we going to beat yesterday's race? Because that was drama from beginning to end. I think Luca Engstler summarised things very well on the grid when he said it's incredibly hot, and there is something about this circuit. I think it's a lot of concrete around it. It's always hot here, and these drivers, well, they are the modern-day gladiators. They are athletes, but this is a challenging race for them, particularly if it stays dry, funnily enough. And we saw it last year. We saw Mirko Bortolotti, Riccardo Feller going head-to-head in this very race last year. The drivers at the end of the 1 hour here were absolutely exhausted. So it's not about just beating each other. It's not about just conquering the track, but it's also physical fitness, keeping it together mentally and physically for the full hour.
Yeah, because the more tired you get physically, the harder it becomes to concentrate. And when you're driving cars that can do 165 miles an hour or 265 kilometres an hour, a momentary lapse in concentration, particularly around here, Brian, with concrete walls everywhere, can be disastrous.
Yes, it's great that we use the tri-oval, but the cars look spectacular coming out of turn 12. That long stretch that you can see behind the start your engines board, that is the pit straight in towards turn 1. Up against the concrete wall of the tri-oval, the drivers will get the fastest line, but then it pinches down into turn 1. A very tight downhill drop into turn 1. Very, very tricky, very, very fast.
So 3 different pole sitters this year out of 3, 3 different race winners out of 3, and at the end of each race this year, we've had 3 different championship leaders. For now, it's Kelvin van der Linde, 43 points. He starts on the second row of the grid, also on 43 points. Right at the back of the grid is Maro Engel, third in the championship, and there on the front row of the grid is Riccardo Feller on to 37 points now after the points he picked up from qualifying in the top 3. Lucas Stoltz is 4th on 35. Sheldon van der Linde has had a solid start to the season with a 4th and 2 6th. The 2022 champion, he's got 33 points, but he's also a long way down the grid with only 2 cars behind him. could be spectacular watching Sheldon come through as well. He pulled off some good moves yesterday. 6th in the championship is Luca Engstler. He was the championship leader at the start of the weekend, and he's got 32 points, and that is the same points as Mirko Bortolotti. As for the other championship standings for the teams and manufacturers, for the manufacturers championship, Mercedes have got 90 points. Second on 78 are Audi, and Lamborghini are third on 77 points. And Abt Sportsline lead the team standings, 74 points for them after their victory yesterday. Winward Racing have got 72, just behind them in second place, and the other Mercedes team, HRT, Hubert Haupt's team, are third on 63 points. So a rolling start coming up. Last chance for the drivers to focus the attention now and try and remember what it's like to drive around here in dry conditions. We've had a bit of everything this weekend. Free practice 1 dry, free practice 2 wet, qualifying 1 dry, race 1 dry, then very, very wet, then drying, then greasy, then a dry line, and dry this morning for the second qualifying session. Thomas Preining is on pole position. Ricardo Feller is second. There were 44 thousandths of a second between them. Brian, that's not even in the top 4 closest gaps we've ever had in qualifying, but it just shows how intense it's going to be. But Ricardo Feller will be thinking yesterday into turn 1 at the start of the race. He got down the inside of Thomas Preining and went from 3rd to 2nd. Can he do it again today and get the lead?
Well, you do wonder, don't you, that turn 1 is a great opportunity to make up some places, also a great opportunity to lose places. There was a second covering the top 17 on the grid after qualifying. That's how close DTM is. It could go any way at all. Championship winner from last year, Thomas Preining on pole position, but keep an eye out. All the big men are around him.
Yeah, it's a few to watch charging through the order potentially as well, as mentioned. OK, then, 60 minutes plus 1 lap of racing. It is round 4 of 16. We're already a quarter of a way through the season at the end of this. DTM 2024. Me, Chris Hartley, Brian Oliver alongside to talk you through what's going to be another cracker, I'm sure. A classic race about to come up then for DTM as the red lights are about to go out and we're about to roar into life. Here we go, green light, and Thomas Preining with a good start. Look for René Rast, squeezed up against the wall against Nicky Tim, further back down the order. But Ricardo Feller trying to go around the outside of Thomas Preining. It's not quite going to be. And then it's side by side for third as well between Kelvin van der Linde and Mirko Bortolotti. Bortolotti's just about going to fend off the South African and remains for now in 3rd place. He's going to try and go around the outside of Ricardo Feller. That could be tricky. He doesn't want to leave the door open, otherwise Kelvin van der Linde is going to be in there. This is the view back from Kelvin's car, looking at Luca Engstler in 5th place, Max Powell in 6th, got Andrew Gouin in the mix as well as they come off the tri-oval and turn left into turn 6, and that'll be immediately into the right-hander at turn 7. Preining is making a break for the hills, look, trying to get away from the 2 Abt Sportsline cars. He had a very good start. Ricardo Feller went with him, but couldn't find a way past. Engstler and Powell have both made good starts to the race as well, which is them running both of them in the top 6. Gouin is trying to get in the action as well. He's got Lucas Stoltz behind him in the number 4 Mercedes. And you're looking back from Sheldon van der Linde's car. Bit of bumping and boring going on behind, but Sheldon has made a good start to the race. He's just outside the top 10 in 11th position, so he's already made up 7 places at the start of the race. Maro Engel has made up 4 places as well from the very back of the grid. But at the very front of the field, coming towards the end of lap number 1, Thomas Preining is going to be more than a second to the good, I think, as we see Lucas Sauer and Jack Aitken swapping paintwork, Mercedes versus Ferrari, absolutely side by side, and they're not the only ones. Andrew Gouin in the Porsche, the green machine there, and Lucas Stoltz going side by side. Gouin's got the inside line and just about fends off the German driver. Marco Wittmann behind. Vandengeet's way out the inside is the Austrian in the yellow Mamba Mercedes. That was contact between him and Christian Engelhardt. Lucas Sauer getting through. You're on board with Jack Aitken, who's just behind that scrap in the Ferrari, trying to muscle his way through from a lowly grid position. But these cars all towards the tail end of the field. Christian Engelhardt in the gold and black Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini's got everybody queued up behind him. It's a ferocious fight, Brian, whether you're for the lead of the race or for 16th position.
You can say that again. They were 4 and 5 abreast into the first corner. Maro Engel even took to the grass trying to get past. You saw Thierry Vermeulen also getting very wide up against the pit wall, as was the case with René Rast. René Rast pushing forwards now, but Maro Engel is on a charge. You just saw him getting together with Jack Aitken. He's moved up into 14th place from the very back of the pack. You've already seen from the graphic that Nicky Tim has a penalty lap for a false start.
Yeah, we saw Nicky Tim and René Rast going absolutely side by side, getting a bit close to the pit wall as well off the start was the blue BMW. But René Rast has made up some positions, the three-time champion, three-time race winner around here, the blue BMW. 5 places to the good. He's gone from 13th to 8th in the first 2 laps of the race. Get some team radio now, though, from Nicky Tim about his penalty.
Nicky, you have to do a penalty lap, penalty lap.
And that is greeted with silence, stony silence. Now, look at this. The McLaren of Ben Durr going toe-to-toe with a DTM race winner, Christian Engelhardt, getting the better of him. So that leading orange and black McLaren there. Young Ben Durr looking for his first points in the championship. There's Nicky Tim, who's dropped back anyway, and is now going to have to serve a run through the penalty box, which is coming out of turn 5. So he'll stay to the left, run through here at 50k, and it'll cost him around about 5 seconds. So plumb last then for the Danish driver, who had a really difficult start to the season at Oschersleben with 2 DNFs. Let's see if we can see what that jump start was all about for the Lamborghini. There on the left-hand side of the picture with the orange wing mirrors on it. And there was the start from a rear view. Off they went. And there you can see Nicky Tim to the left of the picture, squeezing René Rast. René was trying to get up the inside of him, wasn't he? And he was oh so close to the pit wall there. They had a bird's eye view of it, as did we, from the grandstands overlooking that. And it all funnels into a very tight pinch point as you go into that almost 90-degree left-hander through turn 1. Jack Aitken watching Sheldon van der Linde go around the outside. Sheldon has been brave at turn 1 this weekend, hasn't he? Oh, look at this, for the lead of the race. Ricardo Feller has reeled in Thomas Preining, and he's trying to get the lead of the race into turn 2, and he's going to do it, is he? Is he? No, not quite. He's got his nose in front. Now he will. Now he goes through, and Feller into the lead of the race. Preining second. Kelvin van der Linde trying to pounce as well with the onboard camera. Feller had been reeling him in, but that's an unusual place to get through at turn 2, isn't it?
What an audacious move from Ricardo Feller, getting past the reigning champion in DTM. Now Kelvin van der Linde, the teammate of Ricardo Feller, fancies something similar. Mirko Bortolotti in the background there as well. On the replay of that start, just you saw Nicky Tim, he ducked out of line early. He then realised, ducked back in, but it was enough to send him to the penalty box. Another look at that move for the lead. Round the outside on turn 1. Tried to make it stick. Preining looked like he was going to come back at him. It was a drag race into turn 2. And finally, Ricardo Feller's able to ease in front, slam the door in his face. Kelvin van der Linde's rubbing his hands together going, I think I might have a go at that as well.
Ricardo's such a calm, placid man out of the car. He's an absolute monster inside the car, isn't he? That was a terrific move. And through to the lead he went. Replay from all angles. Whichever angle you look at, it's fantastic. Beneath the commentary box, I can see, I'm afraid Nicky Tim drove into the garage a few seconds ago, and driving into the gravel trap is Clement Schmidt. He's beached in the McLaren. That is going no further. That is on the exit to turn 8, I think. So third sector, start of the third sector. And that's in a potentially precarious position.
That's going to get us a full course yellow, have no doubt about that. René Rast has had a black and white flag for moving under braking into turn 8. He's a man on a mission as he pushes his way through the pack. He's up to 7th place though, so whatever he's doing, it's working, but he could do without any more black and white flags.
Yeah, Rast on a proper charge. Incident involving Clement Schmidt under investigation. That's the McLaren that is in the gravel trap at the moment. We saw Nicky Tim coming into the garage. Verena is down there. We've also got a safety car out now, so down to Verena.
So I'm here with Nicky Tim. Nicky, we saw that you got the penalty lap because of the start, and then all of a sudden you stopped the car, and now the race is over. Why?
I think I should start being a race commentator because I feel like I'm standing here all the time. Yeah, my brakes just fell through, so I have no brakes. Just that's why I had to go straight at the end of the straight and twice. And before I come there with 500 kph and hit someone, I'd rather stop and go home in one piece.
All right, safety first. Thank you very much, Nicky. Very unlucky, but back to you.
Thanks, Verena. A real shame for Nicky Tim. That's 3 retirements from his first 4 races of the season now. Replays of bumping and boring with Lucas Ayer and Christian Engelhardt. And while we were just hearing the back end of that interview with Nicky Tim, you saw the reason why Clement Schmidt ended up in the gravel trap. 3 abreast with Thierry Vermeulen, who tried to go at the inside of Christian Engelhardt, and on the outside of both of them was Clement Schmidt. And when you're on the outside line, you're always closest to the gravel, and the concertina effect, I'm afraid, is almost always certainly going to knock you off into the gravel trap. So a real shame. After a promising start to the season with points scored in both races for Clement Schmidt, no points here today as Nicky Tim a sad figure, heads to the trailer to get changed. An early shower for him, I'm afraid. He's had no luck whatsoever this season so far, has he?
I'll tell you what, they are testing the strength of these cars this afternoon, aren't they? An awful lot of rubbing going on in the opening 5 laps of this race. A lot of cars making contact with each other. But Riccardo Fella leading the way. He's remembering last year where he spent the entire race staring at the back of Mirko Bortolotti in second place. He's like, I'm not doing that 2 years running. I'm getting in front early. They can stare at the back of me if they want, and that's what he's planning. Riccardo Fella, I still think that was a move of the weekend. And it's Thomas Breining who's in an Ab Sports Line sandwich at the moment. He's got one in front and one behind.
Yeah, things going well, I would say, here for Kelvin van der Linde. Bearing in mind, he's got 20 kilograms of success ballast on board for having won the race yesterday. To qualify fourth, you don't have the ballast in qualifying, but to qualify fourth set him in good stead. He's had a good start to the race. He finds himself up to third position now, ahead of Mirko Bortolotti, who surely is going to be one of his championship rivals. He's 7th in the points at the moment, Mirko, but you know he's going to be up there come the end of the season. So good stuff, and obviously more laps behind the safety car, less laps, that all that extra weight on the car is going to wear away your tyres and brakes. So this is potentially good news for Kelvin van der Linde. It is also good news for René Rast. You pointed out how he was charging up the order from 13th to 7th now in the blue Schubert Motorsport BMW. Well, not an easy 7th, but he's got all of the top 6 queued up right in front of him as we get team radio.
It's all okay with the car, also rear left with the tire?
Yeah, currently everything feels fine. I think the toe is not straight anymore, but it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Well, asking him initially about the left rear tyre, that was an area they're concerned of, so maybe that bit of contact. He said the floor's not great on the car, but it doesn't matter.
We got another one. I tell you what, the race stewards have got their work cut out at the moment. I've got a list of various incidents that are under investigation on the timing screen. They're working overtime in race control at the moment. Of course, they have angles on all of these incidents that we don't have. They have cameras in places you wouldn't believe. They put cameras so they can make some fair decisions once they've looked at various incidents.
This is what the lead change looked like on board with Thomas Breining. There was some contact, but it is racing. And, yeah, it was fairly forceful. But I think he got the line, hadn't he, Bella? He got the line through turn 2, made it stick through turn 3. And hard, but I think fair move. And get more now down in the pit lane with Verena.
And now let's talk to Rainer Dörr, the team boss. Let's talk about the incident with Clemens Schmidt. What exactly happened there?
Also gut, es war ein Unfall, ein typischer Rennunfall. Clemens konnte nicht ausweichen, war außen und ist abgeschossen worden. Also konnte er nichts dafür. Ja, typischer Rennunfall.
So what he's saying is basically it was a typical accident. It wasn't his fault. There was nothing he could do. Unfortunately, that was the end of the race for him. So I guess that's just racing. Einfach. Genau. So ist es einfach.
Genau, es ist Racing, das gehört dazu. Schade, dass es uns getroffen hat, aber ist halt so.
Alles klar, herzlichen Dank. Thank you very much and back to you.
Yeah, a shrug of the shoulders from Rainer Dörr, the team boss of Dörr Motorsport. They've been a very welcome addition into the championship with those 2 fantastic-looking McLaren 720Ss. And the team already picking up points on its debut, as I said, with Clemens Schmidt a few weeks ago at Oschersleben. Well, that's a sight, isn't it? The crowd catching some sunshine. There's even a few bare tops out there. Yesterday, they were doing their best to try and keep their clothes marginally dry, weren't they, by running for cover. What a difference a day makes. This is how we started the race yesterday. It didn't last for long, but looking out over the view that we've got from up here at the top of the grandstands, there are some clouds up and above, but none of them really look grey and threatening, do they?
No, but we're all dead nervous because we said that as the race was starting yesterday as well. Well, you've got a great view of Ron Dobmeyer, the safety car driver, and you can see that his job is going to be to bring the safety car into the pit lane very shortly, and it'll be the job of Riccardo Fella to back the pack up because we are about to get back into green flag conditions. The pack out onto the Triathlon, back out towards turn 8 now, and we will be getting going again in about half a lap.
Riccardo Fella leads. He's gone from 2nd to 1st. Thomas Breining is 2nd. He started on pole. Kelvin van der Linde has gone from 4th to 3rd. Mirko Bortolotti's gone from 3rd to 4th, and Luca Engstler started 6th. He's up to 5th. Max Powell is there. He started 8th. He's running in 6th position. And René Rast started 13th. He is the leading BMW. Right behind them in the blue Schubert car in 7th place. 8th place is Ionjan Nguyen in the bright green Manthey EMA Porsche. and then Lucas Stoltz in the Mercedes and Marco Wittmann in the BMW rounding out the top 10. And Sheldon van der Linde will be happy about this as well. Probably Maro Engel likewise. They're all bunched up in front of the two, charging from the back. Sheldon van der Linde up to 11th. And up to 14th from the very back of the grid, Maro Engel, the driver, second in the championship. They're then pulling the trigger and unleashing 580 brake horsepower in the Audi is your race leader, Riccardo Fella, the driver, third in the championship last year. Second place in one of the races here, right behind Mirko Bortolotti last year, but he's got a clear track in front of him as we get back underway. Keep an eye on René Rast, who's getting very close to Max Powell's Lamborghini, but the BMW remains just behind him at the moment in 7th place. But is he lining up something for a run down into the left-hander at turn 6 at the end of that second visit onto the tri-oval banking? Back to find out, because they're coming out of turn 5 now, a slight uphill run as they come out of there. Look how close they get to the concrete wall, and look how close René Rast is to the back of Maximilian Powell. Not close enough to lunge down the inside. I can see out of the commentary box window that he remains in 7th place. Tell you what though, Brian, Riccardo Fella, brilliant getaway. Look, he's 3 or 4 car lengths clear already of Thomas Preining.
Did exactly what he needed to do, kept Thomas Preining at arm's length, maybe caught him napping a little bit at the restart. René Rast, though, he's lining himself up in towards turn 8 at the moment. He'll want to get as close as possible to Max Powell, get a good exit out of turn 12 onto the pit straight, and potentially it'll be a drag race down towards turn 1. But at the moment, he's lining him up. We're riding on board with Luca Stoltz, who's in 9th place. He's got a grandstand view. He'd rather see it in his rearview mirror, though.
Yeah, through the middle of the lap here, it's pretty difficult to overtake, especially that run through turns 9, 10 and 11. It's kind of single file, really. So you're just setting yourself up to get as close as you can coming back out here onto the tri-oval. And we can see the BMW. We're going to hear from Team Rast now as well.
Moving on the braking pattern to you, man.
But very quietly.
Whisper.
Yeah, oh well, it does matter.
We can see what he's doing.
I'm sure it's very important, but we couldn't hear it. Yeah. René Rast, sparks trailing from him and from the Lamborghini just in front, that low-slung Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2 of Powell Motorsport, the team from Dresden, their home race. Max Powell, a race winner at the Nürburgring last year. Ironically, he started 13th on the grid last year and won a race. He's trying to fend off somebody that started 13th on the grid, and he's trying to win a race this time. You must be slightly nervous if you're Max Powell. You look in the mirror and you see a René Rast coming for you.
Yeah, I think wherever you are, if you see René Rast in your rearview mirror, you're going to be panicking slightly, aren't they? I'm just so impressed with how close they get to the wall as they come out, especially at a turn 12. I hope they've got lots of spare wing mirrors in stock for these cars. But still, Max Powell doing a sterling job, holding off a 3-time champion behind him. Part of it is about driving quickly, and part of it is not being intimidated by that big BMW that's filling your mirrors.
We've got 2 of our 4 champions nose to tail as well, because there are the teammates, Marco Wittmann in the green BMW and the red and yellow BMW of his Schubert teammate Sheldon van der Linde, breathing down his neck now, fighting for 10th and 11th positions at the moment. Sheldon maybe not quite close enough as he comes out of turn 12 to go on the attack, but René Rast is close, and René Rast is going for it. Is he? No! Really late on the brake from Max Powell. He goes wide though. Here comes René Rast at the inside and comes through. He just showed his nose, didn't he? And that was enough to force Max Powell to make the break a little bit later than he really wanted to.
Oh, that's in the textbook, that one is. A brilliant move. Max Powell on the previous lap had received a black and white flag for moving under braking, so he knew he was being watched by the stewards. There's a limit to what he could do to defend from the BMW. But you saw René Rast, it didn't look like he was going to make it stick. Then he found that gap and he shoved that BMW into the hole, over the bump, the little downhill section, and he was through, relegating Max Powell. The SSR team getting ready now. The pit window will be opening shortly, and it's going to be Team Sport because they're going to come into play.
Doing their stretches down at SSR so as not to pull any muscles and get everything spot on. It's so critical in that pit stop window. You have got ideally less than 7 seconds to change the 4 wheels on the car, and it's not easy. It doesn't look easy, and it's even harder than it looks. So they're going to play their role in the race now. If you lose 2 or 3 or 4 seconds in a pit stop, it can take forever to get that back on the track. Be 2 or 3 tenths of a lap quicker, second per lap quicker than a driver. That takes you 4 or 5 laps just to get 1 second back. So it can have a huge impact on the race and on positions when they're as tightly packed as they are now. Fella leads, Preining second, Kelvin van der Linde in third, Bortolotti 4th, Engsler 5th, René Rast 6th after that move at the start of the previous lap, Max Powell 7th, Guan in 8th, Stoltz in 9th, and Wittmann still in 10th place, still ahead of his teammate Sheldon van der Linde. Then it's Miney in 12th, Auer 13th, Engel up to 14th, but going no further currently. Aitken and Vermeulen in the 2 Ferraris having a real nightmare weekend, 15th and 16th for them. Bender in the McLaren 17th. Can he get his first points of the season?
Well, Ricardo Feller, he's in the lead, yes. He's opened up a gap, yes. But Thomas Preining is now starting to peg it back a bit. It was 0.826 last time they crossed a timing beam. And Thomas Preining on lap 11 of the previous lap has become the fastest man of the race, a 1:22.369. So Thomas Preining has not given up on this one. He's keeping Ricardo Feller well within range. This story is far from all over.
On board with Sheldon van der Linde, the 2022 champion, running at the moment in 11th place behind one of his 2 Schubert teammates, Marco Wittmann. What a lineup that is. You got Sheldon van der Linde, a champion of 2022, 2014 and 2016 champion Marco Wittmann, and 3-time champion René Rast. 6 titles between them. It's a dream driver lineup. The BMWs have been having, well, particularly in Sheldon's case, a solid start to the year, but they're still looking for their first podium of 2024. There's the onboard picture from Sheldon's car, looking right underneath the rear wing of his teammate Marco Wittmann, but not yet able to find a way past. Both of them are trying to get a way past Luca Stoltz, who's one of the front runners in the championship, of course. So every point counts for Luca. Meanwhile, Ricardo Feller is almost a second clear now at the head of the pack. He set the best lap of the race last time around, 1:21.931. That was 42 thousandths of a second quicker than Thomas Preining. So it's only half a tenth, but he's going the right way for the race leader.
So Feller responding to that previous fastest lap from Preining. So the 2 drivers trading fastest laps. But keep an eye on René Rast. That blue BMW, well, he's dropped Max Powell like a hot stone. In front of him now is Luca Engstler. The BMW now menacing in the rear-view mirrors. That was the view back from Luca Engstler's Lamborghini. You know that René Rast is going to be challenging and he's going to be pushing hard anytime soon.
Well, is Luca Engstler doing, though? He's already won a race this season. He's mixing it with the very best of them there in 5th place. And he's certainly going to have his work cut out. But for now, he's got a good run out of the final turn. Meanwhile, we can get more news with Verena down in the pit lane.
And now we've got Clement Schmid here. And what bad luck. I mean, it was just a really bad incident. And obviously, the race ended for you. So just bad luck.
Yeah, I mean, the car ahead of me was struggling. Yeah, I tried to pass him, and I don't know, either he outbraked himself or I don't know, but he crashed into my side, and yeah, I ended up in a gravel bed. He's still driving, so he won this round.
Bad luck. Thank you very much, Clemens, and back to you.
Yeah, shame for Clement Schmid. He had a very frustrating Sunday here last year, didn't he, when he had a coming together with Franck Pereira when they were fighting for a podium position. It looked for all the world like Clemens was going to be able to get a podium, but it wasn't to be for him then, and it's not to be a few months later here when we come back to the Lausitzring for 2024. Pirelli slick tyres then are being readied because the pit window opened around about 40 seconds ago. And now it's strategy. It's kind of stalemate out on track at the moment, Brian. So try something different, maybe. Try early or a late stop, and it's going to be an early stop for Thomas Preining. Manthey EMA had the quickest and 3rd quickest pit stops of round 1 at Oschersleben and have been really quick in the pits this season. Then find a second or so over their rivals. It could be a difference between second and a race win.
Yeah, great strategy. Very interesting from Manthey EMA. So they're going to try and get the 91 car out on some open track, put in some qualifying type laps, and maybe get the jump on Ricardo Feller when he comes in for his stop. Quite a lot of other cars coming in as well. As Lucas Stoltz, there's Marco Wittmann there in the queue. So it's all going to jumble up here. Very key, very strategic. Those in traffic, it looks like, as Lucas Auer, the yellow Mamba, also getting his tyres changed. Those in traffic coming in, trying to get out on some open track.
So it's going to be Preining easily the leading pit stopper. He's just about to come out of the pit lane. A 6.8 second stop. Anything under 7 seconds, he's excellent. Lucas Stoltz just gets out in front of Marco Wittmann. That'll really frustrate the 2-time champion because he'd been staring at the back of that Mercedes for a number of laps already. What this might do is free Sheldon van der Linde. He stayed out, and he clearly was struggling to find a way past both Wittmann and Stoltz. So if he can get his head down now, this could be beneficial to Sheldon van der Linde. Abt are getting ready. ready for one of their drivers. Is it going to be Ricardo Feller or is it going to be Kelvin van der Linde? It looks like it's going to be the race leader coming in first for a very early stop.
Yes, that's earlier. Maybe that's to cover off Thomas Preining. So into the pit lane he comes, hits the white line. Now the speed limit applies. Also in the background, René Rast. So Schubert Motorsport will be jumping into action as well. The flashing headlights indicating that the pit limiter is in operation on that BMW. So this feels incredibly slow as you crawl along the pit lane. You know your main competitors are out at the back of the circuit, absolutely nailing the apexes. That's a great shot there between the legs and the rear wheels first. So get those changed. Once those are done, all buckled up, then it's to the front. Tyres onto the front as well, off the jacks. A great pit stop from the AB Sports Line team.
Okay, so they're going to get ahead of Thomas Preining. Preining is going to be charging over the start-finish line about now. Coming into his shot, there he is, into turn one. He's still going to be behind. René Rast going to be much closer to them, though, isn't he? He was at 6 before the pit window. He's still behind those two, but I'd say he's a fair bit closer to them. It looked like a good stop from the Schubert Motorsport team for the 3-time champion. We know it was a good stop for Thomas Preining. What was it, 6.9 seconds as well for René Rast, so that was definitely a good stop. AB Sports Line are very good at their pit stops normally. For Ricardo Feller, he was stationary for 7.1 seconds, so he's lost 2 or 3 tenths of a second during the stationary period, but you can make up time on your in-lap and out-lap as well. It was certainly attacking that pit lane entry before you get to the white line.
Yes, and Preining's tyres are, of course, up to temperature. He's been out on track longer, and he knows that, so he's now closed in on Ricardo Feller. He knows that this could be potentially for the race lead. It was his pit stop that kind of forced the hand of Ricardo Feller and meant that he had to pit early as well. But now Thomas Preining has a little peek to the inside. You know Ricardo Feller has this in his mind. He knows what he needs to do. He's going to be trying to get those tyres up to temperature as quick as possible. You get the feeling that maybe Thomas Preining's best opportunity may have just passed.
Ricardo Feller knows as much. A big, big corner coming up then. This could be an opportunity for Preining. I feel he might be just a bit too far back, though. He's going to show his nose, but it's to no avail, because Ricardo Feller is the net leader. Others, of course, have yet to make their pit stops, but he's the leading pit stopper. Kelvin van der Linde coming out, not very far behind René Rast. He's won in all of this. The two Ferraris together. Young Vermeulen just ahead of Jack Aitken, who you ride on board with now. So Feller is the leading pit stopper. You can see on the graphic on the left of your picture, the top 7 who are not lit up green on the graphic. They haven't yet been in the pits. So Feller is the leading pit stopper from Preining. And then you've got this battle going on nose to tail between the two Ferraris. Impressive stuff, this, from Thierry Vermeulen to keep 2-time race winner Jack Aitken behind him for the time being. Ferrari's having a difficult day. Now, Kelvin van der Linde is coming in to the pits as well. And looks like Mirko Bortolotti and also Ernst Nguyen are joining him on this lap.
So, again, keeping to the speed limit, Kelvin van der Linde, this will be really, really important. So, out on track now, Thomas Preining has found a route past Ricardo Feller. So, that's happened while we were looking at the pit lane. So, Thomas Preining, the net lead potentially. Ricardo Feller trying to come back at him. So, what has happened to Ricardo Feller to allow that Porsche through?
Well, they're just coming through turn 12. We rejoined him at turn 9. Maybe it was at turn 8, but that's still a fairly unusual place to get through. But Preining has got through, and he is the net leader, as you say, Brian, ahead of Ricardo Feller. Ricardo thinks, no, I've got to stay at the back of another bright-coloured car, like I did last year. This time it's a Porsche. Last year it was a Lamborghini, so it looked like the chance had passed, but Thomas Preining is not a champion for no reason. He's looking for his 6th win of the season. They're going through the Lamborghini here on the cold tyres of Mirko Bortolotti as well, but he's going to be not that far behind them once he gets his tyres up to temperature. Kelvin van der Linde has got the net lead at the moment because he's just out of the picture, but he's getting his tyres up to temperature as well. And they're going to reel him in now. So this is for the net lead of the race. Kelvin van der Linde with 20 kilograms of success ballast on board and cold tyres, trying to keep behind him Thomas Preining, weaving to try and generate heat into the tyres as quickly as he can, trying to help his teammate out as well. If he can back up Thomas Preining, that might well help out his teammates, Ricardo Feller. And Ricardo is trying to take advantage of this. He's almost alongside the rear wing of Thomas Preining as they come towards the end of the lap. And van der Linde is keeping Preining at bay. This is the worst case scenario for Preining. He's sandwiched by AB Sports Line Audis, one in front, one behind. What can he do? Can he go for the move? or is he got to keep his eyes on the mirrors and really fend off Ricardo Fella? But really good pit stop for Kelvin van der Linde, really good in and out lap, and he's managed for now to stay ahead. You look back from the South African's Audi as he goes over the start-finish line. Ricardo Fella looking menacing. The inside line is covered, so he goes to the outside line. Kelvin van der Linde gets there first, Preining in second of those that have made their pit stops, and then Ricardo Fella. You've got Maro Engel and Christian Engelhardt first and second in the race, but they've yet to make their pit stops. So realistically, this is the battle for the lead of the race. But this is a dream scenario for Kelvin van der Linde. It's not over yet, though, because Thomas Preining has got the bit between his teeth and shows his nose on the way into turn 6.
Well, if you can see inside the car, Ricardo Fella is scratching his head saying, how did that happen? I was leading this race just now. I'm in third place. My teammate's leading the way. Not for long, though. Thomas Preining, the Porsche is on rail. He squeezed Kelvin van der Linde. 2 wheels onto the dirt. And the race leader once again goes to Thomas Preining. At least that will be the net lead. Ricardo Fella now getting together with his teammates.
Contact between the two Audis. Fella forces his way through. Teammate, friend, don't care. I want to win the race. I want to get through, and I do not want that Porsche to disappear off into the sunset, says Ricardo Fella. Fantastic racing out there. Do you know what? Kelvin van der Linde's pit stop was slower than the other two at 7.5 seconds, so he must have had a mighty in-lap. There's a replay of Thomas Preining pulling off another move at another corner where you're not really supposed to be able to overtake. But the Austrian has found a way through. That was daring stuff. He switched from the right to the left. Last of the late breakers. Kelvin van der Linde didn't see it coming, couldn't cover it off in time. And Preining got through. And I think because Kelvin was a bit on the back foot then, it was inviting trouble from his own teammate because he went 2 wheels through the gravel here coming out of turn 7. It was a nice tidy exit from the number 7 car of Fella, and he got him into the next corner, not without a bit of contact though. There's some contact involving Lucas Dahlst. It tipped off into a spin. Was that with Max Powell's Lamborghini? So into the gravel trap, 2 cars at the moment. That's at turn 7, and they're still in the gravel trap.
This is going to bring out a full course yellow again, isn't it? Or a safety car potentially, because both cars in the gravel. That is such a shame for Max Powell in his home race.
Absolutely, yeah.
In the meantime, just to say, Thomas Preining has had a warning from race control for moving under braking. He's had a black and white flag, which is just a warning at the moment. So our net race leader, the driver who potentially will be leading once the pit window is closed, has the stewards watching over him. Just also to mention about Kelvin van der Linde, don't forget he is carrying 20 kilos more than he should be as a result of his win yesterday.
Yeah, even better performance given all of that. He'll be very happy if he can just get a podium out of this. Maro Engel coming down the pit lane then has decided now is the time to make his pit stop. And likewise, Christian Engelhardt, they were the last 2 to pit. So they're in at the moment, which means Thomas Preining will resume the lead of the race. Engel's going to be somewhere in the mix, though, for a top 10 here. He comes out in front of Sheldon van der Linde, so that's going to be effectively 8th place. And Maro's doing it again, having a really bad start to the day in qualifying and charging up the order.
That is astonishing. From the back of the pack, that is incredible stuff.
Sheldon's got him, though. His tyres are not up to temperature yet on the Mercedes, so Sheldon van der Linde makes short work of it and gets him coming out of turn 5, but it's still in the top 10 from stone last on the grid for Maro Engel. Thomas Preining then leading the way. I'm going to come out with the stat I came out with in qualifying now. If Thomas Preining finishes the race in the points, it will be 20 consecutive races finishing in the points for the Austrian driver. He finished every single race of 2023 in the points. And so far in 2024, he's finished all 4 races, or will, if he stays where he is, have finished all 4 races in the points. And a remarkable record, not just race wins and pole positions and championship titles, but pure consistency from Thomas Preining. 20 on the trot in the points. Quite unparalleled, I would say, in the modern era of GT3 racing in this championship, as we get Marco Wittmann finding a gap at the inside of Ayenjan Nguyen and getting through. That's for 10th place. And look at the other BMW of René Rast. He is weaving around in the mirrors of Mirko Bortolotti in the battle for 4th as they go through turn 1.
Rast has plans to finish on the podium in this race, so I'll tell you that. Now, those 2 cars that are in the gravel trap out at turn 7 are still there. The window is open, the pit window is open, which may explain why we haven't had a full course yellow or a safety car yet. I think it's not beyond the realms of possibility that we might do. We don't want to interrupt this battle, though. This is amazing stuff. Once again, Maro Engel has got a queue of cars behind him, but he's pushing forwards. Marco Wittmann, though, has his mirrors full of Iron Chengun, so he is preoccupied. Maybe that's going to allow Maro Engel to break clear. Maybe Wittmann is going to have a go round the outside. That would be an audacious move, wouldn't it?
Yeah, once again, Maro Engel, good strategy from the team. Tell you what, great pit stop as well, 6.4 seconds. But also with the 6.4 second pit stop was Marco Wittmann for Steward Motorsport. So they're quicker than the quickest pit stops we had at Oschersleben. They've been excellent. And again, Maro Engel must have had very good in-lap pace. So Engel in the special livery to mark 130 years of Mercedes involvement in motorsport and the number 130 on the car. The driver, remember, that he's second in the championship after 3 races. He's fending off that group of cars. While the action continues on track, let's go down to Verena in the pit lane.
And let's talk about the incident with Lukas Stolz with Uli Fritz, the team boss. I guess it's one of those situations in racing where it's just really unfortunate, or how would you see it?
Yeah, it's difficult to see. I mean, we didn't really see a lot in the TV so far, but for me it looks like Luca was much quicker and went around the outside, and it got just spun around. But yeah, too early to really say who is responsible for what. Just to have to look the TV feed.
But so far so good. Everyone's well.
Yeah, I mean it was just a small one, but just unfortunately stuck in the gravel. So yeah, nothing we can change at the moment.
All right, Uli. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Verena. Yeah, first non-finish of the season for Lukas Stolz. Remember, 4th place in the championship coming into this race. Let's see if we can unpick this then. On board with Luca. He's behind Max Powell. He's trying to squeeze around the outside. Now, did Max Powell get a clip from somebody else? Because he suddenly lost it on the inside, and that was then into the side of the Mercedes, wasn't it? So, no, he didn't get...
Maybe... I wonder whether he'd had a little help from Marco Wittmann, but maybe not.
Just lost it on the inside, didn't he? And that speared him into the Mercedes. But, when you try and go around the outside of somebody, it is always a risk, isn't it? Because momentum always takes the car to the outside, i.e. towards you, and you are closest to the gravel trap. But unfortunate for Lukas Stolz, after 3 top 10 finishes, including a podium at Oschersleben, he's going to drop down the championship order as a result of that. So everybody's made their mandatory pit stops now. We've got 25 minutes plus 1 lap still to go in the race. So we're just into the second half of the race, and we've got more from Verena down in the pit lane.
Check. Martin, Ricard. Sorry, we're just, he's just getting in something on the ear, obviously, so we just have to wait a minute. But this is regarding, I'm going to ask him about the situation fighting for 2nd and 3rd place. Obviously, quick question, Martin. Martin and, sorry.
Kelvin and Ricky.
Kelvin and Ricky fighting for 2nd and 3rd place. And it was a little bit close there for a moment. Was your pulse beating a little faster at that moment?
Not really. I think they're professional enough. They know what they do. So I didn't have anything to argue against it, so that was fine racing. But the lap before with Preining, not letting Kelvin the space, exiting the quick corner, that was more something that put my heart rate up.
All right, but so far so good. Thank you very much, Martin. Back to you.
The heart rate rose a little bit when the battle with Preining, but well, it's good to hear a team boss not stressed about his drivers racing against one another, isn't it? As we get a replay of that very move when Ricardo Feller squeezed his way past Kelvin van der Linde, team radio.
He's in the position, man. He pushed me off.
Copy, 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 copy. Stay cool, stay cool.
Well, it said Ricardo Feller on the team radio. That was definitely the voice of Kelvin van der Linde. He pushed him off the road, man. Now, whether he's referring to Ricardo there or the move from Thomas Preining, not sure.
Probably both.
Not happy anyway, was he?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's, looking at that shot there, you get the feeling that it might have been his teammate. Looking again at the little tag on the corner, and it's good that they both didn't end up in the gravel trap there. That obviously just played straight into the hands of Thomas Preining. He is leading the way, certainly 0.7 of a second last time across the line. So he seems to have this under control at the front at the moment. Thomas Preining, Ricardo Feller, Kelvin van der Linde, but keep an eye in the background, Mirko Bortolotti and the very rapid René Rast. We've still got those 2 cars out on turn 7. I'm still surprised we haven't seen a full course yellow or a safety car. We may well at some point once the pit window is open.
Indeed so. Long way to go in the race, and with more down in the pit lane, let's catch up with Verena.
And I'm here with Maximilian Paul. We still had such a nice, optimistic interview as a local matador early on before the race. Now, unfortunately, the race ended for you. I guess there was nothing you could do. What happened? Describe the incident from your point of view.
Yeah, first of all, I think we had a very, very good start. Car was great. Obviously, I've done a small mistake with René. Yeah, the guys did a solid pit stop after yesterday, so I'm very, very happy with everyone. Just a very, useless move by Sheldon for me is a thing with no respect, in my opinion. Just because he has a big car and can push everyone, it doesn't have to push everyone out. So I'm very, very angry, let's say. But doesn't matter. We move on and we push. And I'm looking forward to the next race.
All right, Maximilian, thank you very much. Bad luck, and now back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Very frustrated Maximilian Paul. So he's got Sheldon van der Linde on his radar. I'm not sure Sheldon was actually right by him. We need to see that again, but I thought it was Marco Wittmann that was right behind him during the move. Now, under investigation, Thomas Preining for forcing car number 3, Kelvin van der Linde, to leave the track at turn 7, going back to the earlier change of lead. So that is being looked at by the stewards for now. For now, points-wise, if it stays like this, Kelvin van der Linde, I reckon 59 points, will have a 4-point championship lead over Ricardo Feller on 55, and also on 55, Thomas Preining will be moving on to 55 points and joint second in the championship. Maro Engel on 51, fourth, fifth for Mirko Bortolotti on 45, and sixth, 42 each for Sheldon van der Linde and Luca Engstler. Luca Engstler's got the win, so he'll be ahead as it stands. But a long way to go, 21 minutes, plus, of course, that one lap at the end of the race.
As far as 91 goes, Thomas Preining, well, it's depending on how that investigation goes, he's going to be sincerely hoping that the race directors, the race stewards, don't ask him to give that position back. That's something they do quite often if they feel as though you force the car to leave the track in getting past, because if he did that, he'd have to let Ricardo Feller through as well and drop down to 3rd place. So he will be concerned about that if the news has got through to him. At the moment, he's leading the way. We're keeping an eye on Sheldon van der Linde. He is now the fastest man on the track, the best lap of the race so far, a 1:21.581. He's in 7th place. He's hounding Luca Engstler for 6th.
Tell you what, you ask any driver about this track and none of them ever say it's their favourite racetrack, but it does give us some fantastic racing in the DTM, doesn't it? We always have really good racing here at the Lausitzring. This then is the incident under investigation as seen from the perspective of the Porsche, and this is how it looked from the exterior. Make your own minds up. Porsche on the inside, Audi on the outside, Porsche ahead, but no room available to Kelvin van der Linde other than 2 wheels through the gravel.
I think Kelvin would argue that his car wasn't far enough alongside, maybe. It was far enough alongside, and that's exactly what we thought might happen.
No, this is different. This is for Feller, the move with Feller.
Oh, good heavens, yes.
So the move just after that. So they're not looking at the Preining move anymore. They're looking at the move between Feller and van der Linde. The safety car is coming out, but Kelvin van der Linde and Ricardo Feller going to have to switch positions, but the safety car coming out because still got Max Pell's Lamborghini and Lukas Stoltz's Mercedes in the gravel trap down at turn 7.
So if they swap positions behind the safety car, will that be classed as overtaking under the safety car? I'm not sure whether you're allowed to do that or not, or will they have to wait until we're back under green flag conditions? But I was expecting to see something like that to Thomas Preining, but instead the 2 teammates, and that's caught us all unaware, really. So at the moment, Feller in that 2nd place, Kelvin van der Linde in 3rd, but all change. But I don't think they can do it behind the safety car. No.
I was just looking at the message screen as well. It didn't actually say that was being investigated, did it, that move?
No.
But there you go. Look at this. Nearly 11,000 euros has been raised for race laps for Wales in Africa, Best Water Technology, BWT. And the ADAC who run the championship donate €4 for every lap, and that's all the combined laps to help the poor in Gambia and Tanzania to get cleaner water. Raised over €180,000 over the last few years. They raised over €5,500 at the previous round at Oschersleben alone. More views of this incident. That's the incident then where Feller, I mean, you understand it because his teammate had was on the back foot. He had 2 wheels through the gravel in the previous corner. He didn't get up to top speed as quickly as he wanted to. And fella thought, right, this is my chat. I want to win the race. I need to get past you to stay in touch with the Porsche. But now this is going to be a better situation for Thomas Preining, because when they swap around, it's going to be the car with the ballast on that's going to be behind him. Here's the radio.
In turn 10, I cannot break it. What's happening?
It's getting all a bit messy, isn't it, for the Abt Sportsline team? This is always an issue, though, isn't it, when you've got 2 drivers who are capable of fighting for the championship. You're trying to let them race very early in the season. What you don't want to do is hold each other up so much, cause each other so much trouble, yet somebody else win the race. And that might happen at the moment with Thomas Preining.
So Max Power's car being picked up and removed from the gravel, still to get Lukas Stoltz up in the air. So we're going to be a few more minutes behind the safety car. This is playing very much into the hands of Mirko Bortolotti and René Rast, who are in 4th and 5th, because they'll know that the 2 cars in front of them are going to have to swap positions. They are now a lot closer than they were. Sheldon van der Linde is just behind Luca Engsler. Mauro Engel from the back of the pack up into 8th place. Marco Wittmann and Ian Changuin as well rounding out the top 10. So when this race gets back under green flag conditions, they're all going to be bumper to bumper, nose to tail. It's going to be a good run down into turn 1. It'll be anybody's guess who comes out of that one in front.
Of course, when they swap positions, Kelvin van der Linde will get 20 points for 2nd instead of 16 points for 3rd. That'll give him a bigger championship advantage over Ricardo Feller and Thomas Preining. So Ricardo Feller will, if he drops down to 3rd and stays 3rd, 16 points he'll get. So it'll be, if that happens, and if it stays like that, and there's a long way to go, van der Linde on 63, Preining on 55, and Feller on 53 points, 51 for Mauro Engel at the moment in 8th place. So it would give, if they swap around, which they're going to have to, and if Kelvin van der Linde stays in 2nd place and Ricardo Feller stays in 3rd place, it'll give him a 10-point championship lead as that recovery operation continues on. They still haven't said anything about the incident between Preining and van der Linde. That's still being looked at, and of course it would be easier for them to swap positions if van der Linde was right behind Preining, which he's going to be at some point soon.
Yes, and I'm looking at our messaging screen, and it does say just after that a black and white flag that is shown to Thomas Preining for forcing car 3 to leave the track. So I'm wondering if that is the resolution to that investigation or not. But yeah, the stewards taking a look at everything, and it could all change yet, couldn't it? But at the moment, Thomas Preining looking fairly safe at the front in terms of steward intervention. But Ricardo Feller, Kelvin van der Linde, that little fumble they're going to have to do as soon as we go back to green is just going to allow Thomas Preining to break clear.
On his march towards the 2023 championship, this was the only track, the only event all year last year where Thomas Preining didn't get a podium. He's already got one this weekend, and it might be a double podium, and it might be a race win as well for him if he can stay where he is once the race resumes. So Preining leads, Feller is 2nd, Kelvin van der Linde 3rd, but the order has come that once the restart happens, once the safety car peels in, van der Linde is going to be given that 2nd place back by his teammate Ricardo Feller. Mirko Bortolotti is 4th, René Rast is in 5th place, 6th place is Luca Engsler, but with Sheldon van der Linde potentially breathing down his neck. And 8th place Mauro Engel, 9th place Marco Wittmann, 10th is Ian Janguin, 11th is Lucas Auer, 12th on his 50th DTM race start is Arjun Maini, 13th and 14th Thierry Vermeulen and Jack Aitken looking for their first points of the weekend. In fact, it will be first points for both of those drivers since round 1 of the championship at Oschersleben. And also just about in the points at the moment in 15th place is Christian Engelhardt, but with Ben Durr right behind him in the McLaren 16th, looking to get his first DTM championship point, the only driver yet to get off the mark this season. We've lost Max Powell and Lukas Stoltz. We lost Clement Schmidt and Nicky Tim earlier on, and we're waiting for the safety car to come in, which it's about to do at the end of this lap. It leaves them behind as it accelerates towards turn 10. And this is the view from the race leader. So we've got this tricky situation now for Abt. How do they play this out? Two drivers have been ordered to swap positions. How can they do that without losing too much time to Thomas Preining, and also without potentially allowing Mirko Bortolotti to get in on the action for a podium in the SSR Performance Lamborghini. Let's find out how they play it, but for now it's going to be nose to tail between the top two. A fella can't really overtake Preining and then give his position up, can he? That's going to be very, very messy. So into turn one they go. Preining, Fella, van der Linde, Bortolotti and Rast. And René Rast has had a bad start to the season by his very own high standards. He has got, as you say, podium in mind, maybe race win. He needs to get his season off the mark now, really, if he wants to be a championship contender.
Oh, this is complicated for Ricardo Fella, isn't it? Because he's desperate to get after Thomas Preining, but he's going to have to look in his mirrors now. Is it going to be out of turn 6 that they switch? He goes deep into the corner to land through. Mirko Bortolotti fancies a shot at it as well. He's too far back to do anything about it. I'd say that's as textbook as it's going to get, really, isn't it?
That was well done, wasn't it? Didn't cost them time, really. But it has cost Ricardo Fella a position. He's behind his teammate. He's behind the championship leader. They're both fighting for the championship lead. But he also knows that Kelvin van der Linde's got a heavy car and might start to hold him up as the race goes on. You're on board with Maro Engel trying to gain a position here. So Mirko Bortolotti trying to gain a position, and then he leaves the door open for René Rast. And René Rast in the BMW draws alongside, takes out the wing mirror of the Italian, absolutely side by side. Luca Exler has lost out to the pair of them, Bortolotti and Rast. This is for 4th place, still side by side. Here comes René. He's on the outside line. Can he find a way through? Trying to come back down the inside of him is Luca Exler, and he's squeezing him across now. On board with Sheldon van der Linde, who wants to get on the action as well. 3 abreast. The 2 BMWs on the outside, but Luca Exler digs his heels in and says, I don't care if you're a champion 3 times. You stay behind me, mate. I'm in the Lamborghini, and I want this position.
René Rast's teammates, Sheldon van der Linde and Marco Wittmann, were also trying to get in on the action, but all that did was allow Maro Engel through. That is the view of Marco Wittmann's car looming strong from the perspective of Sheldon van der Linde. He's now got to try and make his way past Maro Engel, but René Rast is taking no prisoners today. He is coming forward. You stand in his way, you're probably going to have an accident.
I'll tell you what, that was brilliant stuff from Luca Exler. He was on the back foot there, wasn't he, coming up to the start-finish straight, but he managed to keep the German behind him. So Preining leads, Kelvin van der Linde in 2nd, Fella 3rd, Bortolotti 4th, 5th for Luca Exler, 6th for René Rast, not for the one to trying. There's Arjumani in the blue and yellow HRT Mercedes feigning a move up the inside of Ayhan Nguyen. So this was Bortolotti, first of all, having to fend off René Rast, and then Luca Exler on the back foot here, but then creeping up, trying to get at the inside of René Rast to get a position back. It was all because Mirko Bortolotti was trying to get a podium position. He had a bit of rubbing with Ricardo Fella. There's the wing mirror before it gets detached by the BMW in a couple of quarters' time. Here comes the BMW, bright blue, can't miss it. There goes the wing mirror. Just give it a little love kiss. But the mirror's still there. You can still use it.
Yeah, more than a kiss. That was a snog. That was Luca Exler staring at the back. And he could have had a great view of this. He would have been very happy for those two to get together, and he could have sailed past both of them. But Luca Exler really getting stuck in. Good job from him, not being intimidated by the big champion around him.
And then Sheldon van der Linde having a go as well. However, when we look at the timing screen now, we're watching these replays. Maro Engel has got past Sheldon van der Linde for 7th place. We've also had Lucas Auer getting ahead of Ayhan Nguyen for 10th. So a couple of changes going on outside of the top 6. If you think ABTA are having a slightly stressful time with their 2 drivers, Torsten Schubert has got 3 drivers to try and contend with, and they're all within 4 places of each other, look. So it's always going to be an issue, wasn't it? When you've got 3 class drivers like that, there's always going to be a point in the season where they are together and fighting for points on board with Sheldon van der Linde, and in between all of them, you've got Maro Engel as well.
Most of the team are at the back watching from behind the cushion. I should think there's Luca Exler once again, our newest winner in DTM, out onto the pit straight, doing a sterling job, holding off a 3 times champion behind him into turn 1. The Lamborghini looks to have the legs under braking. Into turn 1 they come. René Rast just lining him up at the moment. He's got about 8.5 minutes plus 1 lap to find a route past. But René Rast, well, he'd love to be on the podium, but suddenly this race is starting to approach its closing stages.
Yeah, 8.5 minutes plus 1 lap to go. How well is Kelvin van der Linde driving? He's just gone quicker than Thomas Preining. Thomas has got 5 kilograms of success ballast on board. Kelvin's got 20, so 15 kilograms more, and he's got the gap down to Just over 9/10 of a second now for the race lead at a 1:22.183, about a 1/10.5 quicker than the race leader. Here's Mirko Bortolotti, and we can hear now from the Italian.
No chance, man. I have no chance, honestly.
Sounds like he feels like he's fighting a losing battle. No chance to catch up for the podium. He says, you're far behind though, Mirko. You know he ain't going to give up, that's for sure. But here he is in 4th place, in the mix as ever. You get a podium out of this, he'll be pretty pleased with that after another difficult day yesterday. At the moment, he's just about a second behind Ricardo Feller, but Kelvin van der Linde's pace continues to impress. I thought Ricardo would be all over him once he had to give the place back, but in fact, Kelvin has left his teammate behind. Here's Sheldon van der Linde. It's being a real ding-dong with Maro Engel. They've swapped places a couple of times already. The Mercedes has got the inside line. The BMW cuts back to the outside for turn 2, but Maro fends it off. He's mighty on the brakes, isn't he, Sheldon van der Linde into turn 1. He monsters them there on the BMW. Just behind, you've got Marco Wittmann as well, but Maro Engel is a wily old competitor and fends them off. But here comes Marco Wittmann trying to go around the outside of his teammate, just about avoiding the wall. Side by side, you're on board with Sheldon van der Linde. Sheldon gets the inside line. Brian, Marco Wittmann is nothing if not brave.
Yeah, and persistent. Sheldon van der Linde was looking so good yesterday in the drive. Once again, he's proving to be exactly the same. He's got the fastest lap of the race so far, 1:21.581. So he has put up the quickest lap of the race. But that Mercedes in front of him is proving tricky to pass. His teammate, well, he might be a teammate in name, and Marco Wittmann, well, that's a proper spanking of the wall as he comes out of turn 12. I think he's left our camera in place, which is good news, but a big thump on that BMW wouldn't have done it any favours. In fact, that was out of turn 5, wasn't it? It was onto the tri-oval up against the concrete wall.
Yeah, from the onboard, it looked like he was close. I didn't think he was that close. He actually hit the wall, bounced off it. But he's quite robust, these BMWs. Now, Kelvin van der Linde, for the 3rd lap in succession, takes time away from Thomas Preining's race lead. He's got the gap down to 0.6 of a second. Somebody's forgotten to tell Kelvin van der Linde that he's not supposed to be able to do this with a car that's got 20 kilograms of success ballast on, easy for me to say. And he is driving the wheels off that Audi, closing up to the Porsche. And Thomas Preining having to work very, very hard. He's got slightly fresher tyres, I suppose. He came in a bit later for his pit stop, but nonetheless, it's a great performance, this, from Kelvin van der Linde.
This is shaping up to be a grandstand finish, this race. We've still got 5.5 minutes to go. Sheldon van der Linde is still trying to relieve Maro Engel of 7th place, but he needs to do it without letting Marco Wittmann through. Now, Wittmann has dropped back a bit, particularly as a result of that little moment with the wall. So this is an opportunity for Sheldon van der Linde, if he has got the pace, to make a move on Maro Engel without so much of a risk as letting Marco Wittmann through. Marco Wittmann has Lucas Auer in his mirror, so Lucas Auer fancies getting involved as well.
Two of the raciest drivers in the DTM. That could be quite a fight, Marco Wittmann and Lucas Auer, albeit only for 9th place. Marco Wittmann's car's a bit lighter than it was because he's got less paint on it now, as we hear from Kelvin van der Linde in 2nd place.
With me, mate. Every time I come close, he just off.
I think Thomas Preining is off the Christmas card list for Kelvin van der Linde. He's not happy with it. Every time I get close to him, he moves his line, he's saying. And he's saying that, not just for the team's benefit, but he wants race control to listen in as well. So Kelvin getting frustrated, as we've already heard, frustration on him on the radio with the move initially earlier on to get the lead of the race when Kelvin was still getting his tyres up to temperature. There then is this battle once again between Maro Engel in 7th in the Mercedes, and crikey, how close to the wall is Sheldon van der Linde as he makes his way through the tri-oval and back into the infield through turn 6. Marco Wittmann still just ahead of Lucas Auer. Angel Nguyen getting into the mix as well. So 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th all running together at the moment.
4 minutes left of this race, and Kelvin van der Linde is reeling in race leader Thomas Preining. It was about half a second last time around. I'm going to be very interested to see what it is when they cross the line next time. They're into turn 10 at the moment. This is still the battle that rages on for 7th. Sheldon van der Linde, his march forwards has been halted somewhat, whether it's temporary or not, by that Mercedes in front of him. Now out onto the pit straight. What is the gap going to be? It was 0.533 last time across the line. Thomas Preining crosses and it's 0.770. So Thomas Preining has responded. Kelvin van der Linde In that second place, Ricardo Feller about 1.2 seconds behind him.
Just having a look at the points as it stands. This is my unofficial calculations. It's 63 to Kelvin van der Linde, 53 for 55 for Thomas Preining, 53 for Ricardo Feller as the top three, and fourth Maro Engel on 52. Now you've got one more point for moving up to 7th place a couple of laps ago. So what, 11 points covering the top four in the championship potentially. That's a big if, because Maro Engel's got to try and keep Sheldon van der Linde behind him, and that might be not the easiest of things to do in the last 3 minutes and a bit of the race, because Sheldon has been very racy this weekend. But for now, Maro has just created a 2 or 3 car length advantage as they make their way out of turn 7. So just over 2.5 minutes plus 1 lap to go. Let's hear now from Marco Wittmann.
I have no more rear.
Okay, copy that, copy.
Got no more paint either, Marco. Scraping the wall.
Yes, you saw how hard he was pushing, and now that's left him with not much grip at the back, and suddenly he's vulnerable to Lucas Hauer. And I dare say the message might have been passed to the team of the Yellow Mamba as they look at the BMW ahead of them, and Lucas Hauer can see that Marco Wittmann may well be easy pickings as they head into turn 2, because Wittmann will have no grip when they turn in. Out along the pit straight they come as Marco Wittmann in 9th place, Lucas Hauer in 10th, bits hanging off his car too. He ducks back in, decides that discretion is the better part of valour on this particular instance, but he may well try again in a bit.
It's a sign of a champion is how well you respond to pressure, and Thomas Preining has just put in his personal best lap of the race. Right at the end of the race, that's not supposed to happen. I know the car's lighter, but the tyres have been used up. The driver's hot and boiling inside the car, but he has just pulled away by another 1/10 of a second. So the gap he started to extend again over the last 2 laps, and it's now closer to 9/10 of a second, or it was. Well, Kelvin looks like he's had a good start to this lap. Yeah, he was fractionally quicker through the first sector, and he's fractionally quicker than the Porsche through the second sector. So he's got about 1/2 of a second back, but it's minuscule amounts as the Marco Wittmann BMW comes through the shot in 9th place. Lucas Hauer in 10th position. And yeah, Marco looks like he's starting to get to grips with this car. There you go, 8 points, as I say, the difference between the top two as it stands. Ricardo Feller 10 behind, and Maro Engel will only be 1 point further back as well. So 11 points covering, as it stands, the top 4 in the championship. Into the final minute of the race then. That means 2 more laps to go. Thomas Preining, the gap's come down again, less than 7/10 of a second.
Tell you what, Mirko Bortolotti hasn't given up on a podium yet either. He is closing in on Ricardo Feller in 3rd place, and I'm wondering whether Ricardo Feller might be a little bit short on grip as well. But Mirko Bortolotti in 4th. He's clear of Luca Engsler, who's behind him, René Rast in the queue as well. But time is starting to run out, so when the clock strikes 0, which will be on this lap, the cars will then start the final lap of the race.
If I sing the praises of Thomas Preining for putting his best lap of the race in late on, I now have to definitely sing the praises of Kelvin van der Linde, because van der Linde responds with a 1 minute 21.562. He's just set the fastest lap of the entire race. Kelvin's not really giving up on the lead of the race here. He wants a double victory. He knows Preining's going to be a championship rival, and if he can take 5 points away from Thomas and get 5 more himself, that could be a huge difference at the end of the season as well. They'll be thinking about that for sure. All he can do is keep the pressure up. As you say, time is running out because they're about to go on to the start of the final lap of the race. It's still close for the lead, and it's still close for 3rd.
Well, we didn't need the rain to brighten this up, did we? It has been spectacular from beginning to end. What a way to have race 4 of the season in the DTM. Starting the last lap now, Thomas Preining, the reigning champion, car 91. Kelvin van der Linde, yesterday's winner, behind him with that success ballast on board as well. Ricardo Feller last of the podium places, with Mirko Bortolotti just sniffing behind as well. A spectacular race.
Absolutely, great performance, as you say, from Kelvin van der Linde with those 20 kilograms on board. Bearing in mind, Thomas Preining's also got a slightly heavier car than he should, with another 5 kilograms, and it makes a big difference when you consider they're all within thousandths of a second of each other. But half a lap to go now for Thomas Preining. We're doing it again, everybody. 4 different winners from the first 4 races of the season. It is the most competitive of championships, the DTM, and goodness knows who's going to be the champion at the end of this season, because it's going to be another nail-biter. But you've got quite a few contenders who are up there in this race now. Preining, Kelvin van der Linde, Fella Bortolotti doing a great job in 5th as well, Luca Engstler, but it is going to be victory and the spoils to Thomas Preining and the Manthey EMA team, about to take their first win of 2024. 20 consecutive point-scoring finishes for Thomas Preining, your race winner here in round 4 at the Lausitzring.
Well done. Win in Lausitzring, very good. We're back in the championship, standings P2. P2 in the championship, well done. Win at Lausitz.
Interesting. They even keep on top of the points.
Mega. Fucking incredible.
Brilliant.
Had a fight for that, didn't he, Thomas Preining? He really did. There might be a few words between him and maybe Kelvin van der Linde at the end of the race. I think Kelvin was his biggest fan in that race, but it was hard, tough racing, what we expect all along, really, in this championship. Not a quarter given, not an inch given. And Ricardo Feller, I think he's going to be disappointed to be 3rd in that race. He had his sights set on a victory, but again, he continues to rack up the points and the podiums. Fantastic performance, though, with that ballast on board to get a 2nd place finish for Kelvin van der Linde. Weekends do not get a lot better than this. He's done what Mirko Bortolotti did last year. He's got a win, a 2nd and a pole position.
Yes, and it's consistency that pays off at the end of the season, and how different this is to Oschersleben, where they were really struggling. They had that cracked chassis on Kelvin van der Linde's car. Thomas Preining and the Manthey EMA team could not get a handle on the Porsche. Here we are, round 2, and those are the 2 cars featuring at the top. Ricardo Feller in there as well, but Mirko Bortolotti, another consistent finish from him. René Rast, well, his charged Fords had ended in 6th place. Sheldon van der Linde was in 8th, but Maro Engel from the back of the grid into 7th.
Confirmation of the results then. Thomas Preining wins. Kelvin van der Linde comes home in 2nd. Ricardo Feller will be on the podium as well. Mirko Bortolotti 4th. Luca Engstler 5th. René Rast in a charging 6th. Maro Engel in an even bigger charge to 7th place. Sheldon van der Linde 8th. Marco Wittmann 9th. And Lucas Auer in 10th place. And then in 11th position, Ayenjan Nguyen promised a lot this weekend. It hasn't quite delivered, I'm afraid, for him, but 11th place and more points for him. More points on his 50th DTM race for Arjun Maini in 12th. Thierry Vermeulen beat his teammate Jack Aitken to 13th, and Christian Engelhardt was the other points scorer in 15th place. Bender just outside the points, the other finisher in 16th position. So a quarter of the way through the season, and guess what? We've still got no idea who's going to win this championship, and we'll probably say exactly the same thing with a race to go at the end of this season. It's been another cracker, and look at that, 11,500 euros raised this time by the Race Laps for Worlds in Africa campaign. That is fantastic. They combine all the laps together. There's confirmation of the provisional points then. As I said, 63 points for Kelvin van der Linde, an 8-point lead over Thomas Preining. Back in the fight now. Ricardo Feller 3rd, very much in the fight as he was all of last season. And then Maro Engel 4th on 52 points. He's right in the mix as well. Mirko Bortolotti on 45 and Luca Engstler on 43. Aren't too far behind either. And there is 6th race win of his career for Thomas Preining, and he does get a handshake from Kelvin van der Linde as well, so good sportsmanship between them. Van der Linde, I think, is well chuffed with 2nd place. I reckon he'd have been pretty pleased with 3rd, but 2nd feels like a bonus. He still, though, had his what I know race victory there, didn't he? Pushing really hard the last couple of laps of the race.
Yes, getting back-to-back victories on the same weekend is a very rare thing to do indeed, and he came very close to it. Ricardo Feller, well, a shake of the head. He's frustrated, isn't he? I mean, he's got a good points haul, but the 3rd step on the podium will be no consolation to him.
Yeah, fancied the race win. Had the lead, of course, for a while, but once he had to give that position back to Kelvin van der Linde, he just couldn't quite live with his teammate the second half of the race, could he? Kelvin just had the legs on him, but again, more good points, and there will be more race wins, absolutely, coming the way of Ricardo Feller. But it's Thomas Preining that takes his first win of the season, takes the victory. It's the first time, though, somebody's won a race this season, and that's not projected them into the championship lead. However, they'll be pretty pleased that it has put him up there into 2nd place in the standings. Kelvin van der Linde, hard work, not as hot as it was last year, but it's pretty hot still. It's almost 25 degrees, even though it's overcast here, and this concrete bowl really just absorbed the heat in the car. Very heavy.
That was what I
Just listen in.
Were you?
no issue between the two drivers. Kelvin explaining what happened. Ricciardo says no problem, taps him on the back, as we can hear now from Verena.
And here he is, the race winner with a big smile on his face. Congratulations from pole position to victory. Got to be so happy and relieved.
Yeah, I couldn't wait for the race to end, honestly. The Audis were so quick. Incredible. I mean, there was so much pressure from start to finish. They were a lot faster in the beginning. I had no chance to defend, but luckily we had a really good strategy, and I'd like to say my move was kind of cool too. I was really smiling in the car when I pulled it off, and honestly just happy to get the win today.
Absolutely. For 1 second you lost your lead, but then obviously it was given back to you. How was your pulse feeling at that moment?
No, honestly, during the move it was 250. I thought I'm going to take both of us out. It was really on the limit, but that's DTM.
Congratulations, you did a phenomenal job, and now back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Your race winner, Thomas Priding, yeah, he was chuffed with his move, wasn't he? There were two really, really good moves in that race, one from Ricciardo Fella as well. But as Thomas said, that's DTM. You have to be on the limit. You remember the move he pulled off on René Rast to get the victory at the Norris Ring last year. That was on the ragged edge as well, because that's how competitive it is. You have to go 100% all in to pull off a move just to get through on these drivers. So high is the level in the championship. So what will the third weekend of the season bring us? We've not got long to wait, 2 weeks until we go to Zandvoort. Again, a very different type of racetrack. What's the chances of a 5th and 6th different winner of the season? Quite possibly so. A slightly deflated Ricciardo Fella pumps his fist, but you can tell he's disappointed with third place. And it's a good sign, isn't it, when you aren't disappointed with third place. He's got championship ambitions, and so too has Kelvin van der Linde. They're still good friends. They're still great teammates. But they couldn't quite defeat Thomas Priding in this one. Here he is, his first win of the season. It was all downbeat at Oschersleben. It is much happier this time around. Third yesterday, a first today. Couldn't get on the podium last year at this track. He's had 2 now, including a race victory. So there are the top 3 drivers. The winning team, of course, will be represented, the Manthey EMA team, last year's teams and drivers champions. They're represented with on there. There's a conversation happening on the podium between Kelvin van der Linde and Thomas Priding, but there is a smile on the face of Thomas Priding nonetheless. Let's now get the national anthem. Thomas Priding, champion of 2023. He said at the end of the season, that's it, I'm the same as everybody else again now. I'm not the champion, I'm not the one they're trying to hunt down. I was last year's champion. I'm in the same boat as everybody else. We start from scratch, but he's in the fight once again, isn't he? But what a fight he's going to be. It's good to see smiles between Thomas Priding and Kelvin van der Linde on the podium. The State Secretary in the Brandenburg region here, Uwe Schuler, is going to present the first of our magnificent trophies here at the Lausitzring, and it's the big one. It goes to Thomas Priding. He knows what that means. He knows that these additional points you can grab in these battles, they might just be the difference come the end of the season, because we always go down to a handful of points at the end of the championship. Volker Krauner will present the second place trophy to Kelvin van der Linde. He has had a terrific weekend as well, his best weekend for a long, long time. Best, really, combined weekend since the 2021 season. Emma Hintzer presented the Start Your Engines board, and the world champion in track cycling now presents the third place trophy to Ricciardo Fella. These 3 drivers, amongst many others, are going to be in the fight for the championship. And there is Thomas Helmer, twice a finalist with Germany in the European Championships, but he won it at Wembley in 1996 when they beat the Czech Republic with a golden goal in extra time to win 2-1. And of course, Germany hosting this year's European Championships next month. So the trophies have been presented to the top 3 drivers and to our winning team representative as well. This is the calm before the storm, because, Brian, they're about to get very wet.
Yes, they are. And this is the kind of wet they want to be, actually, with this champagne and not with rain. 45,000 spectators are here watching this weekend at the DTM race, and they have been soaked but entertained. And it's now Thomas Preining's turn to get soaked as the celebrations start, but it's going to be short-lived celebrations because, as you say, we've just got a couple of weeks before we head to the Netherlands. The mighty Zandvoort with those big bank corners. Personally, I can't wait.
Absolutely right, and the races come thick and fast now. 2 weeks to Zandvoort on the 8th and 9th of June, and then at the start of July, the Norris Ring, the streets of the Norris Ring, and then, incredibly, we'll already be halfway through the season. The Nürburgring to come in August, Sachsenring, the wonderful Sachsenring at the beginning of September, and then the Red Bull Ring and Hockenheim to round out the year. Let's get some more reaction now, though, down with Verena.
And I'm here with Kelvin van der Linde, our new championship leader 2024. Congratulations, coming from P4 to second place. I saw a big smile on your face, but now I'm seeing some looks. I mean, you guys, you've got to be happy with your race.
I'm super happy. It's been an emotional roller coaster, to be honest, from where we came from. So I'm a bit lost for words, to be honest. It's crazy that what motorsport emotions do. Like, I'm empty today. Like, it was a long race. I was fighting a lot. Obviously, I had the 20 kilos in, so I had to really drive every millimeter of every lap on the limit. At one point leading the race, but I didn't have the pace today to hang on. I think the Porsche and Tommy did a great job on cold tires. I was really hanging in, but just lost the rear in turn 7, couldn't hang on. And yeah, also thanks to Ricardo. I think it was great teamwork. We really helped each other play our cards right on the safety car restarts. And yeah, just proud of everyone. Honestly, I'm just empty. Normally I'm a bit more hyped up, but I just don't have any more energy after that weekend.
But you've got 2 weeks to fuel up your energy, and then Zandvoort is coming up. Are you looking forward to that? Do you like Zandvoort? Is it one of your favorite tracks?
I love Zandvoort so much. It's one of my favorite tracks. It's one where the driver really comes out, so I'm looking forward to an old school track where we can really push on and hopefully continue defending our championship lead.
All right, looking forward to that. Thank you very much, Kelvin. Back to you.
He liked saying that, didn't he? Defend our championship lead. I bet he didn't dream of that a few weeks ago at Oschersleben when he was having a nightmare. But in motorsport, you never know what's around the corner. That's what makes it so special. It can be a positive thing. Often, it can be a negative thing. There are 1,001 things that could go wrong, and lots of them are out of your control. So when you have a weekend like this, you have to grab it by the throat, make the most of it, and shake as many points out of it as you possibly can. And Mr. van der Linde has done exactly that with a terrific weekend. He leaves the second weekend of DTM 2024 as the championship leader. So let's get more now down with Verena Vries.
And now I'm here with a man who started in P2, ended up in P3, and he just couldn't put a smile on his face on the podium, even though you're again on the podium. Is it because you thought the decision was unfair? You had to give back the place when you were leading?
I don't know, it's just a misunderstanding probably, but I don't know. Cannot change it now, and there's always a reason to smile. I'm going home now for 2 days, so that's my highlight of the day.
But on a happy note, come on, it was a strong race, and you gave it your best. We saw exciting fights and everything. It's part of racing, right?
Definitely. So yeah, we will analyze everything and fight back in Zandvoort.
All right, best of luck for Zandvoort. Thank you very much, Ricardo. So yeah, I guess that's racing, and the one has a smile on his face, the other doesn't, even though they're on the podium. Now it's time for the highlights, and we're looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks in Zandvoort. See you then, bye-bye.
Checking flag is out.